all day, staring at the ceiling, making friends with shadows on my walls. All night, hearing voices telling me that I should get some sleep, 'cause tomorrow might be good for something. Hold on, feeling like I'm heading for a breakdown, and I don't know why. But I'm not crazy, I'm just a little unwell. I know right now you can't tell, but stay a while and maybe then you'll see a different side of me. I'm not crazy, I'm just a little impaired. I know right now you don't care, but soon enough you're gonna think of me and how I used to be me. Yo, what's going on, my beautiful brothers and sisters, fellow radiators of love? My name is Jamal Pope, aka J Phoenix, and welcome to the moon in Libra while the sun is in Scorpio this November 2025. It's going to be here today, the 15th, the 16th, and it will finish up on the 17th, my birthday. Actually, technically, my solar return is tomorrow, but that's the thing that you learn when you start to learn about astrology and you look at the actual degrees. So sometimes your birthday falls on the actual day that you were born on. Sometimes it's the day before. Sometimes it's the day after. In any event, my birthday's coming up. This moon's going to be in Libra for pretty much all of it. So, what do we have going on? Well, this moon in Libra, it's trying to find balance, trying to find harmony, trying to find connection, trying to figure all those things out. But it is tough right now. Especially that it's being disposited and influenced by the ruler of Libra, Venus, which is in Scorpio, which, like I said, it will make it even harder to connect because everyone has their walls up. Everyone's a little bit iced out a little bit. Now, Venus in Scorpio can make for very passionate sex and encounters as far as that stuff goes, but whether or not the connection is actually there, whether we can actually commit to the intimacy is another story, right? Now, we have to consider as well with this moon is that it's going to be making some pretty intense aspects. It's going to be making this T-square. It's going to form this T-square with Chiron, which is in Aries, and Jupiter retrograde, which is in Cancer. Chiron's also retrograde too. So this T-square that we're going to get, and this happens right before we get a yod that the moon will make to Uranus retrograde at 29 degrees of Taurus and Neptune retrograde at 29 degrees of Pisces. So not only are we going to get this edgy kind of energy with that, but we're also going to get these challenging aspects and the square to Jupiter, this opposition to Chiron. The reason why I chose that song, and I honestly, going into this, because I was thinking about it yesterday, it's like, I don't know what the song's going to be. That was the song that was on my mind this morning, was Unwell by Matchbox 20. And I think we're all kind of feeling that. We're all kind of feeling a little unwell. Maybe it was the solar storms that we just had recently, and we are electromagnetic beings as well, and that can definitely affect all of us. It definitely affected everybody, whether you were maybe you were a little bit more dragging, maybe you're a little bit more tired, maybe you got sick. I wouldn't be surprised if people got sick. And of course, you have the fluctuations of the temperatures, especially here in the South, where at this past Monday, we had snow flurries. Today, the high is in the mid 70s. This crazy fluctuations in temperature, these crazy fluctuations with the northern lights being seen as far south as Florida and Texas. There's a lot. It does in many ways feel like not only are we unwell, but the earth itself is unwell. We're going through a lot of growing pains, and we're all going through this massive transformation, right? This moon in Libra, trying to, like I said, relate, balance things out, but Chiron in Aries is always being focused on, but what about me? What about this scar that I have? What about this wounding that I have? What about this sort of thing? And then, of course, that square to Jupiter, trying to find the comfort in this and expand upon it, it's going to be a little bit tough, especially now it's going backwards, which means that Jupiter is going to a contraction. adding another element to this whole idea of this Venus in Libra, which is kind of icing things up. People are kind of closing in. Plus, we're getting towards the winter, so people aren't going to be out and about as more, just as a general thing. When it's the spring and the summer, everyone wants to be out, everyone wants to be in the sun, everyone wants to be out, everyone wants to be out and about and doing things. But when it gets to the fall and when it gets to the winter, everyone wants to come in. Everyone wants to kind of, narrow down their circle, if you will, and find the warmth and find the comfort. And it's going to be a little bit tougher to do that because we're trying to find comfort in a world that is clearly unwell. It is clearly unwell. And it doesn't really matter what system or ism that you subscribe to. There is something about that system or that ism that is just unwell right now. And thinking that that is going to be the magic pill that's going to heal us, it's not going to be the thing that we need it to be right now. So that is in many ways describing, like I said, this Chiron Jupiter aspect. But then, of course, we get to the major yod, right? Uranus now back in Taurus. We're trying to understand our values and our worth and the things that we're building and money and all these different structures. But the foundation is breaking, especially with Uranus. Uranus is a disruptor. It will stabilize, but only after it disrupts, right? The sky god now on Earth, and it's like, holy crap, this is, like I said, you're bringing the sky god, Uranus, lightning, weather, unpredictability, new technologies, going back into this place. So in many ways, we are going through a recalibration. It's like the defibrillator trying to wake us up. And then Neptune and Pisces, we're off in dream world, right? At the same time, not realizing that God's spirit is trying to revive us because we are clearly unwell. We have gotten to this crescendo, this point where society and the way that it has been performing and going is no longer sustainable. There's an element of unsustainability that is in the air. So yes, we are unwell and we are transforming. And it can be one of those things too where it's like you will see people and what they're doing and whatever, and then we kind of jump back into their life at some point, and it's like, oh, you're not the person I thought you were. It's like, well, I've changed. I've grown. I've gone through experiences. I've had ups and downs, trials, tribulations. And these are the things that we're dealing with right now with this moon in Libra. So if I had any kind of advice, it'll come after this because I have someone coming in. So what happens when you're making your videos while you're at work? People are going to come in and all that sort of stuff. So, like I said, with this moon in Libra, looking to find some balance. It's going to be tough with this T-square of Chiron and Jupiter. And it's going to be even tougher, of course, with this yod that's pointing towards this edge of Libra. Which, like I said, when you get to the edge of Libra, 29 degrees is pointing to that spot with the Neptune and with the Uranus. This is still talking about what kind of balance are we looking for? What kind of unity? What kind of compromises? What are we willing to part with? What are we willing to let go? Because Scorpio in many ways it's in many ways about that. It's about shedding, and it's that point before we make the decision and we make the commitments like, all right, these are the things I'm going to be shedding, these are the things that I'm going to be transforming. And that's where the universe and God is pointing us towards, right? And yes, it's in the sign of Libra, but it's like right at that final degree of Libra. So it's going to be very intense. It's going to be very pointed, right? I mean, that's what yods literally do. You have two planets that are in sextile. They're quincunxing 150-degree angle to another thing. It's very, very pointed. It's like we want to focus on that thing. So that's the interesting thing about this. So this isn't about getting super caught up in the woe is me and this has happened to me and blah blah blah, and getting caught up in I can only find comfort in this way, and that's the only way that's going to expand. It's the only place I can find joy. It's the only place where I can find the fortune. We are going to be given some opportunities to recalibrate and look at all these sort of things so we can come up with better systems and better ways so we can move forward. But it's going to take some time, especially, like I said, with all these retrograde planets, Mercury retrograde in Sagittarius. It's hard to think things through right now, especially in a place where it does not like to be, and it does not have the big picture. At least Mars moving forward and off of that Mercury can kind of start to give us a little bit more juice and a little bit more power. And yeah, we do have a grand water trine with the Sun in Scorpio, Saturn in Pisces and Jupiter in Cancer, sure, but it still comes down to whether or not we can implement and recognize our spiritual integrity, the thing I've been talking about probably the last, I don't know how long with this Saturn in Pisces, the spiritual integrity. So hopefully that makes sense. I know it got kind of cut in the middle there, but this is the weekend too. So if anything, I think this is going to be a good time to try and connect with people, to try and, try and find some amends if you have to work through some things, if you have to work through some situations. Teamwork makes the dream work, and I think that's really what this comes down to, especially because Pisces does rule dreams and stuff like that. Teamwork makes the dream work. We can get so caught up in all the illusions and all the delusions and the algorithm trying to make us think and believe and feel a certain way. You gotta get outside, you gotta turn the phone off, you gotta get off the internet, and you have to go out there and actually be with people. One of my guests earlier, he came by and grabbed a bunch of drinks because he's going to have like a little campfire tonight with some people. And that honestly sounds divine. Just sitting around a fire, just chatting, laughing, shooting the shit. Maybe you talk about some deep stuff, maybe you talk about some surface level stuff, but it's about human connection. That's what it comes down to. And human connection in person, not through this stuff. Although I appreciate y'all being here. Anyways, y'all take care, stay blessed, have a wonderful weekend. I'll see you all in the next video. Later.